What's going on, everybody? I'm Cade Morehouse with Cage Side Press, and today I'm always joined by my other brother from Cage Side Press, Dylan Napoleon. We are here to talk about UFC 298 in Mexico City. Dylan, how are we doing, brother?
Kate, I'm good, man. Happy to be with you and talking to you this Tuesday night. Man, I know you had a blast at UFC 298. So, like you said, I'm super excited to discuss that with you and talk about the experience. And then, of course, I do want to talk about this huge Mexico City card coming up. And, we got some great topics to discuss this evening, my brother.
Yeah, man, it was great. It was off the hook. Shout out Michael Wolf. I want to start by shouting him out because he gives a lot back to his communities, and he does a lot of nice things for people. He literally gave me and my dad 2 VIP tickets to UFC 298. We literally experienced something that we never had experienced before. Free drinks, liquor included,
Wow.
all you can eat up until the main card. Not to mention, it was super cool because like 20 minutes before they were going to shut down everything and everybody was going to go to the seats for the main car, I went to the bar and I got like 6 beers and handed them out to the crowd. I kept 2 of them for myself.
That was nice of you, bro.
Yeah, and then we went down to the fan experience, which was free to the public. That was cool. Met Tabitha Ricci.
Yep, just did the interview with her. That must have been pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool. She recognized me. We did. I met up with Jamal Hill, Jalen Turner, Vanderlei Silva. I got to meet Michael Chandler, Bilal Muhammad, Korean Zombie, Chuck Liddell.
Damn, bro.
Corey Sanhagen. I mean, it was a blast. Cub Swanson. Dominic Reyes, man. Shout out Dominic Reyes, man. We're going to be getting him on the pod real soon here.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah, man. Just crazy week, crazy fun. I got to experience doing the Q&A as a fan. And
did really well, too.
Yeah, and the UFC posted the answer to my question. That was really cool.
Yeah, man, that was awesome.
All around great week, but let's get in the card a little bit. Like, it was a really good card. It was a really fun card. Like, I mean, is there any certain fights that like you want to talk about? Like, I thought, being there in person, every fight was good except for maybe 1 or 2. But like, it was a fun
I thought
card.
The main card was awesome, man. A lot of people were saying that. Obviously, it's super early into 2024, super early into this new year. But they were saying that UFC 298 could possibly be something remembered as almost like a card of the year contender. How'd you feel about that?
It's tough because like you have UFC
so
299
early.
and 300. I mean, it might be the card of the. Who was the February card? I lost track. Or this was the February card.
Yeah, the January card.
January card. January card was Strickland Duplessis. I'll say this, top that.
Yeah.
Yeah, top that. I would say, I mean, it was a really good card. I think the only fight that you could really say, well, it wasn't that great of a fight was probably Ian Gary and Jeff Neal.
Right.
I mean, Merab and Cejudo was a good little fight.
Man, dude, I love that bantamweight scrap. Merab showed up, man. 100%. Merab showed up that night. He looked great. He looked great.
Fluffy showed up to fight as always. I mean, he had the crowd laughing, man. Like when he sunk in that rear naked choke and he was just like smiling at the camera, like
having some fun.
Yeah, he just knew it was over. He knew it was too deep, too tight, and there was too much time on the clock. Like it was either he was going to sleep or he was tapping. He knew he won the fight, so he was having some fun with it. Jeff Nilney and Gary, obviously, and then Robert Whitaker and Paulo Costa was a fun fight too.
Good fight. They both looked good that night, quite honestly.
Yeah, to be honest, they both did. I mean, Paulo had a really good first round, I would say, and then Rob started to take over.
Second and third, yeah.
But it was a fun card.
The main event, of course.
Yeah, the main event was super, super good. I thought Volk looked really good. I just felt like he looked a step behind, and I you could say it's age, but realistically, I think it was just Toporia's footwork.
Yeah,
Uh, Everywhere
hard to
Volk
deal with.
stepped, he
Yeah,
cut the cage off, and like
yep,
he even cut the cage off to get to the point where he landed that right hook. I mean, he cut the cage off so well it forced Volk to throw a left hook.
yep.
Volk missed, and then just Taporia followed up with the right hook, and that was like
Beautiful
all she
knockout.
wrote.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, uh,
I
but
like
anyway,
Ilya, man. I definitely was one of the people questioning him and like wondering if he was at that caliber. And here I am today to admit that I was wrong in a sense, and now my eyes have definitely opened. I didn't know if he was at the caliber where I thought Volk was. I think Volk is definitely still there. This is another topic of discussion these days. But I just didn't know if Ilya could hang with someone like him. And man, he answered that for me.
I
This,
think I think not to get too much into this and sidetrack, but I think Volk should take that Izzy approach.
yep,
He's been a champion
I
that like
agree.
never really taken time off for himself. He's been a very active champion. Uh, and I think he just needs to take time for himself. But see, Volk's in a different position from Izzy because Izzy lost the belt, got the belt back, and then lost the belt again. Volk never lost the 45-pound belt until this.
Right,
So
it
I
had been
think
like
whenever he
4 years.
yeah, I think whenever he decides to come back, he should be entitled to getting that title shot.
I agree.
He dominated for a long time. I think that's only fair. He's been a company man. He stepped in on 10 days notice versus Islam
Yep.
or 12 days, whatever it was. When he had a full camp against Islam, some people thought he won the fight, but either way, it was a close fight.
Good
And
fight. Yeah.
I think that he does deserve a rematch, but I think
Yeah.
he should take at least 8 months off or a
Yeah.
little bit longer.
I
And
agree.
that's how I feel about the Volkanovski situation. But Taporia is a dog, but the only thing I don't like about Taporia is like you win the belt and then you talk about like how you're not going to defend it against all the guys that Volk beat, like Holloway, Ortega, Yair Rodriguez, Emmett, all these guys that you named off that you're not going to fight. And to me, I don't like that because I'm like, Volk beat those guys, but you didn't beat those guys. So you don't get to sit here and you haven't even defended your belt yet. So in my eyes, it's like you don't get to defend, you know, you don't get to defend or not defend your title against, these guys.
Right.
That just doesn't make sense. And then it's like, Sean O'Malley hasn't even defended his belt. And now him and Taporia are talking about fighting each other. And I'm like, wait a second. Neither one of you have defended your belt.
Yeah.
You don't get to go fight each other on a champ status when neither one of you have done shit in your divisions.
Right. Except, beat a bunch of top contenders. I like the mindset of needing to defend the belt a couple times because a lot of other guys who have gotten opportunities, champs that have went over and boxed or done something else with their time, before doing something of that caliber, they've had to earn it in a sense. And I agree that, just winning the championship, for the first time, being a challenger and winning, it doesn't exactly warrant that. But a couple title defenses, of course, then you really prove yourself as champion, and you deserve to fight a guy in a different weight class because ultimately you've beat all the guys that are options and questionable title holders.
Yeah, I think it's real simple. I think, and I was talking about to some people this week, after Volk lost to Taporia, I know the UFC needed to fill the 300 card, but now they're probably looking back at it like, well, man, we could have done Max Holloway versus Taporia because they've
Yeah.
never fought. And Max has won his last 3 or 4 fights.
Yeah.
We could have done Gaethje and Islam and then
Yeah.
held off on this 300 fight. Like now Gaethje and Max, do they really need to fight each other? And now you're looking at it like this, but what I think is going to happen, and I know it's probably not fair, but like if the winner of Yair and Ortega is probably going to be the next in line for the
Featherweight shot.
yeah, and I mean Volk's going to take some time off, so I mean I think it makes sense, but I think a really fun fight would be Volk to take his time off, Ilya to maybe defend his belt, and then maybe later in this year, man, set up somewhere in Spain and let Volk go to Spain and try to get his title back, man, and set it up. I think now that Ilya's champ, like Spain would be a great market to like continue growing the sport in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if Ilya doesn't take a fight before then, yeah, I think the Spain card, Ilya should definitely headline that and defend his belt, but I don't know who would be the challenger just yet, considering we don't know any timing of that. And
It could be Evil but like
yeah,
I don't know, man. I don't know if they're gonna give it to him. I really think that it's gonna be the winner, Yair and Ortega, for some reason. That's just the way that I feel. But you know, we'll have to see what happens. But
yeah,
I can tell you right now, Sean should not be worrying about taking a Taporia fight because you got Cheeto in front of you next month. And right after, if you defend successfully against Cheeto, you're fighting Marab, dude.
yeah,
There's no more running from that. And not to mention, if you get past Marab, Sandhagen's coming back, and you could make an argument that he deserves a title
deserves a title
shot.
shot. Yeah,
Then, not to mention, but if Umar wins this next fight, I know it probably doesn't make sense to a lot of people. He's fighting somebody nobody's even heard of, but he's gonna get a title shot too, buddy. So you have 4 opponents right now, off tops of my head, that you have to fight before you think of. You have to clear this division out, and unfortunately for you, you're in one of the top 3 most stacked divisions.
100%.
So
Yeah,
you have to clear the division before you talk about anything going up to 45 to 5 Topuria or whatever the case may be.
at the end of the day, though, Cade, he is Sugar Sean O'Malley.
I get it, but you have to beat some of these guys before you
I
could just
agree.
say,
I
I'm getting
agree, but
Topuria. You
no,
don't get
no, I
champ
agree.
status off, not defending your belt at least once.
No, I agree 100%. I'm just saying that he definitely gets to pull a lot of strings because of what he can do in terms of numbers. But I agree 100%. I think the UFC would probably agree with you too. I think that's just kind of like a general, that's like common sense in a sense. You know what I mean? I think that I don't know. I agree with everything. I don't know if Umar will get a title shot after this win though. If he gets it done, I don't know if the caliber of opponent or like a brand new UFC newcomer makes sense to give him a title shot off of. He might have to get one more victory before that.
Yeah. I will say this though, out of all these out of the fights that I can make from this card before we move on to Mexico City, with Ian Gary moving up to number 6, I think
Yeah.
it's real simple. Match him with Colby. I think that
Yeah.
was a great call out. I think it was a realistic call out.
Yep.
Robert Whitaker, I'd like to see him fight Sean Strickland.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's run it with Sean Strickland.
Yeah.
And
Let's see it.
Volk, I think, like I said, I think Volk needs to take some time off. We'll kind of see where things play out for Ilya in that division. I think there's a couple fights that need to go down before we can make fights for Ilya Topuria. As for Fluffy Hernandez, I think they moved him up to 14 in the rankings. I don't really know a fight right now off the top of my head for him, but I think you could start pushing him towards the top 10 level opponents now.
I'd agree. Probably like a number like 10 or 11, 12, somewhere around there.
Yeah, and I think he's proved himself too, where he could handle some of those guys in the top 10. Like his grappling is so good, and honestly, his striking with Kopylov, man, it wasn't bad. And it may be
No,
because
he
Kopylov
looked
was worried
good,
about
man.
the takedown, but he looked really good.
Yeah, he did. I think honestly, no. You said he was 14. I'd say, you get the win here, probably top anywhere from 10 to 7.
Yeah, I think so, man. I think he can fight anybody in the obviously I wouldn't say anybody in the top 10, but I would say outside of the top 5 or 6 guys from 7 back until where he's at in 14 could all be potential matchups for Fluffy.
100%. He looked solid, man. I'm not gonna lie. He looked legit.
Yeah, man. Is there anything else from UFC 298 that you'd like to cover? Or you want to move on to Mexico City?
We hit a lot of the main card. I just, Marab looked good. What about Henry Cejudo? What do you think is the move for him? Some people speculated retirement after the fight.
I think he's done.
Yeah.
Because you got to look at it. Henry's, he took the 3 years off. He from retirement. He comes out
Yep.
of retirement. He's like 37 or 38 years old. He comes back. He loses 2 fights in a row. So now you're looking at a situation where he'd probably need to win 3 or 4 fights to get back to a title
Yeah.
fight.
He's not in it. He's not in
By
it
the
to
time he
fight
gets
like
to
that.
that, he's
He's in it.
40,
Yeah.
if he even gets there. So I think he's done. I think he's done.
Yeah,
There's no
I
realistic.
agree. Just bringing up a little bit of the card here. But no, I agree with you. It's going to be a hard comeback for him for sure. Let's see. Okay, if we're talking anything about betting real quick, Marcos de Lima. I put like $20 on him to finish the fight by by knockout or by submission. I just saw him finishing it inside the distance, and man, that seemed like such a lock that I hated myself for not like putting a bunch more on him. Dude, it was a good line to take, and I don't really bet that much, but he's taking a fight on 2 days notice. His opponent, I think I could see a finish here, so I put it in, and dude, I should have put
Especially
much
because
more on it.
Rafa took the fight on 2 hours notice.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean, it was like they
weigh
literally
in day.
said, yeah, because they literally said he was going to be hurt, and then I think Lima weighed in, and then they weren't sure if he was going to win. Then they canceled the fight, and then randomly out came his brother, and they announced
Yeah,
that his brother was stepping in for him. So
yeah, I should have put more on the finish. I don't really bet too much, but
yeah, not to be disrespectful or anything, I'm not expecting it because he wasn't really in camp, I don't think. But his brother, when he stepped onto the scale, like, okay, you may be on weight, but you're not in fighting shape. You didn't have a
right.
camp or anything for this guy. You may have helped your brother out, but it wasn't you supposed to be fighting. So I think there's a difference in that. So, and I think you saw it because Junior Tafa, he may not be the best heavyweight in the world right now or anything like that, but you usually get a little bit more out of him than you got on Saturday.
Oh, 100%. I agree. Yeah, you're right. It was a fight, It was a good one too. The whole card was good. I enjoyed watching 298, Cade. I bet you had even a better time being there.
Yeah, dude, it was definitely fun.
That's awesome. Oh, here we go.
UFC Mexico City. We're gonna
A
talk about
mini
this card, and then
mini pay-per-view. Mini pay-per-view.
yeah, it is, and then we'll get out of here. But this is a fun card. This is a fun free card. So anybody
Yeah.
interested in getting into MMA, I would highly recommend watching this card because this is insane. So just to let you guys know,
Lucky for this to be a free card.
oh yeah, just to let you guys know, this was the champion, Brandon Moreno. Uh, guy's a stud. Royval, who he's fighting, just fought back in January, I believe.
Yep,
No, when
against
was it? December.
December. Yeah,
December,
December against the champion.
or against the champion who had beat Moreno.
Yep.
So
This fight is a great fight to make right now, right? You got Brandon Moreno, who held the championship, the title for quite some time. He recently, not maybe about last quarter of 2023, lost the championship. Now he's taking on Brandon Royval is coming off his title shot against Alexander Pantoja. And this fight's just so good to make right now because it's like both guys are fresh off championship fights and they're like in the same spot in that division, I would say. They're both right there at, I could see Royval fighting for the championship again, and I could see Moreno getting, if he gets a big win right here, he could be another former I'm sorry. Here's my train of thought. Came back. He could be the next title challenger for sure. This fight right here is huge.
yeah, so I would say for this fight, it scares me a little bit for Royval. I think because Moreno's been he's a very high level wrestler, but I think the thing with Moreno is he likes to get in those dog fights.
Yep.
He's just
And
known
he's
for
good
that.
at them too. He's
And
really
he's
good at
very good at them. But Royval can crack, and Royval
Mhm.
likes the dog fight too. So if that's the style of approach that Moreno takes, I think you leave holes open for Royval to possibly catch you. But if Brandon goes back to his roots of wrestling, and especially with Royval being on a short camp and not having tons of time to work on his ground game since the Pantoja fight and get his holes, sharpened up, this could be a dominant win for Moreno. But if he chooses that dog fight mentality and style of fight with Brandon Royval can crack at 125
Oh
pounds.
yeah. Oh yeah. My
He'll
man
put you out.
has some hands. Oh yeah.
But Moreno's got a great chin, so
And he could throw too.
I'm kind of hoping that's the fight we get. But if Moreno's goes smart about it, he's just going to take Royval down.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they stay up on the feet and bang for a little bit too. I mean, this fight's gonna be 5 rounds, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's a 5 round fight, I don't know if he'll go for the takedown off rip because he always likes to have some fun too. He's that type of guy who likes to put on for the fans, especially in Mexico. I could see him, trying to knock him out on the feet, and if it doesn't go his way early, shoot for the takedown.
The
But
co-main
man,
event.
what a fight! Oh, dude, co-main event too. I love this
So
card right here.
Brian Ortega's only fought what, twice in 4 years?
Yeah, he's coming off an injury.
Jake Noecker's in the house. What's up, Jake? Says
What's
Yair
up,
versus
Jake?
Ortega should be the main event. I'd actually agree with that, Jake. I think that should be the main event too, but I think the reason it's not, man, is because of Ortega's activity.
Yeah, inactivity. Yeah.
Yeah, his inactivity.
I would agree. I mean, I feel like either way you go here, if you want to give the main event to Yair and Ortega, great main event. But dude, you already know Moreno and Royval are gonna put on too. So either which way you go here, I couldn't pick one over the other. I see that's an unpopular opinion, but I like it. A lot of people are saying that Ortega is gonna go out there and get it done, especially with his ground game. But I also definitely like the stand-up game of Yair Rodriguez. So I like that take. Let's talk about that for a minute, Cade. Where do you see this fight going?
So I have some interesting news about that fight, and I heard it throughout the week, but I'm not gonna, just people I met that told me. But then it got put out there today on Drake and Alex's pod, so it's out there. Ortega's all these guys have been in Mexico training for the last month. Ortega hasn't even stepped foot inside Mexico yet, and it's obviously at elevation. And he hasn't even been to Big Bear or anywhere in California with elevation either. So I don't know, man. I don't know what's
You
going on
think
with
it's going to be a
Brian.
problem?
I think it's going to be a huge problem.
Yeah.
I think
I
it's going to
mean,
be a huge problem. But
that's where Yair Rodriguez is born and raised, so that's going to be like home for him, obviously.
yeah, and Yair Rodriguez too, like in their last fight, like he was touching Brian on the feet, and then when it went to the ground, he was putting up submission attempts, and
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
was
if
at
his
that
submission
fight.
attempt was, I don't know if it was tight or not, but I know his shoulder popped out, but that should tell you that his shoulder was obviously bad. I know both of his shoulders are actually pretty bad, and he's had to get like stem cells and stuff in both his shoulders, so. I think this is like a make it or break it fight for Brian Ortega. What do you think? Because I think if he
Yeah.
loses here, man, he could possibly retire.
Yeah, I mean, he's another guy where you talk about possibly if he gets a big finish here, jumps into a title shot, or if he doesn't, if things don't go his way, I agree. Unfortunately, he's got to make a little bit of a comeback. Retirement for him though seems like, I don't know, it would be tough to really talk about. I would hate to see him step away from the game, and it's something that I don't know. It's hard for me to discuss because I don't know what he's going to look like, coming off this injury. He could look really good for all I know, and be right there neck and neck for a title shot. I really don't know what to expect from him. But if he does lose, I feel like it's up to him. If he wants to be done with the sport, I totally can get behind that and understand and support that. But it also at the same time, if he wants to take some fights lower in the rankings and see what he can do for a year or two, that's not a bad idea to me either. Make some money.
Yeah. Ortega, and Yair, Ortega's got 15-3 record, 16-4. Now, the interesting thing about this is Yair's been pretty active. Brian's been dealing with his shoulder injuries. But the last guy that Brian fought before he took all this time off because of his shoulders was Yair Rodriguez. In fact, that's where his shoulder popped out. So I think that's what makes this fight a little bit interesting is, if Brian's healthy, now we get to see, how this fight would have fully played out. But
Yep.
it's definitely a good card, man. Like the co-main event and the main event for a free card, I'm not complaining for a free card because usually, not to say that the free cards are bad, man. I respect every and all mixed martial artists, but these are some pretty high level guys for a free card.
Oh, absolutely.
And
These guys,
anybody that wants to get into this sport and just doesn't want to buy the pay-per-views, man, this would be a really good start.
both, let's put it both this way. Both fights could be high up on a pay-per-view any day of the week.
Oh yeah, easily the third
Yeah.
co-main
Second,
event. Second or
second
third.
or third fight all day long.
No, I agree with you 100%. I think that too. How do you think the fight plays out though?
To be honest, if it stays on the feet, I could see Yair Rodriguez having a field day and getting a nice victory standing with a knockout or TKO finish, or even hurt him and submit him. But for Brian Ortega, I don't really see him having much on the feet now. I'd love to be proven wrong and see him go out there and have some amazing boxing that night. But if he gets the job done, I see him, of course, T-City, baby, getting it done on the ground. Probably with a triangle choke.
Yeah, I think,
or I would love to see Brian Ortega do some crazy shit and get some crazy flying triangle or something.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, Dylan, I think that if they're both healthy, Brian has more to lose in this fight than Yair, just because of his inactivity and his shoulder problems. And so I'm going to just go off if both of these guys are healthy. I think on the feet, obviously, you get what you get. Yair pieces you up. But if this fight goes to the ground, Yair doesn't have that bad of jiu-jitsu. I mean, he subbed Josh Emmett, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's very well rounded. I'm not gonna take that away from him.
I think Brian will sub him. If they're both healthy, I think Brian will sub him. I think if the fight ends up on the ground somewhere, Brian will sub him. But if this fight stays on the feet,
it's gonna be a long night for Ortega.
Yeah, because Yair has too many multiple. He has multiple ways to attack you. He's so unorthodox.
Yeah, he's really good on the feet. I would say if Ortega comes out there, hey, there we go. We appreciate that, Raphael. Thank you, my friend. But thank what I was getting, yeah, thank you, man. What I was getting at is, yeah, I see Yair, like I said, going nuts. If he can keep it standing, I think he's gonna he's gonna put forth like a really sharp performance, like something really nice, a good performance that night. Whereas Brian Ortega, I feel like he's got to chase his submissions quick. I feel like if it stays standing for too long, he can get caught for sure. I feel like this fight, Yair Rodriguez could probably win a decision, whereas Brian Ortega will definitely be looking for a submission. I don't really see him doing well if it goes long distance, unless he's just wrestling and grinding him out on the ground,
Yeah, we could talk about all these fights all night long, and
it's sorry, and I almost lost my train of thought. We appreciate the comment. That was awesome.
Yeah, thank you. We could go all night and talk about every single fight. Unless there's any other specific fights you want to talk about in UFC Mexico City, but this is the other fight that I'm really interested in. Every other fight is a complete banger. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. It's just me and Dylan would sit here until tomorrow morning talking about all these fights if we could. But Raul Rosas Jr. and Ricky Turcios. Ricky fought on The Ultimate Fighter. He's a real scrappy dude. Rosas Jr., super good young fighter, has a lot of holes in his game in certain aspects before he gets to the top, but wrestling-wise,
he's a maniac.
Insane. But, I feel like the UFC gave him a test in Christian Rodriguez a little bit too early into his young mixed martial arts career.
Mm-hmm. And that's what the market called for. That's totally what it's kind of like you see it sometimes where you get a guy who really blows up and he gets a couple big finishes or just a couple big wins, and he gets put against someone like a real deal. And sometimes Go
I
ahead.
feel typically they don't do it though that much with young guys like this because, for instance, and maybe tell me if I'm wrong, but like for instance, Bo Nickel, like they're kind of slowly building him. They I don't want to say they're just handing him guys they know he can beat, but they're kind of giving him guys that are, they're building
Favorable
him up,
matchups. Yeah, we'll
favorable
put it that
matchup.
way.
And I feel like they were doing that with Rosas until they give him Rodriguez, and then they were like, okay, so now we know that he's not ready for that. Let's step it down. And then his last fight, he won pretty easily, and
Yeah.
now he gets a little bit of a harder test, I would say. Not that it's that much of a harder test, but Ricky's a scrappy guy.
I think plus 230 on Ricky Turcios is crazy. I ain't gonna lie. Let me start right there. Um, I think it's a closer fight than that. There's a lot of money to be made on him right there if he gets the job done. But Raul Rosas Jr., I feel like everybody needs a test like that. And with Bo Nickel, I know what you mean. But Raul, yeah, I couldn't exactly tell you why they gave him that test of that caliber. But I think it was a good idea because now you kind of know where the guy's at and how to build him. Maybe they just needed a fight to gauge him a little bit more, or maybe they saw him winning. Or they thought it was going to be a closer fight, a better fight, to help him build his career. I don't know. But there's a lot, to be honest, and I don't really know a lot. I don't know exactly what the mindsets and motives were like when they made the matchup, but here we are with Raul Rosas Jr. and Ricky Turcios. I love the fight, quite honestly. I really don't think it's that far in terms of odds, right? We're seeing minus 285 and plus 230. I don't know about that. I think that's
Here.
if you're going to take an underdog this card, go with Ricky Turcios, I would say.
Yeah, so hold on one second.
I mean, we don't really see a lot of lines on this page right here. I'd have to go back, but that seems like a great underdog to take. I think we're going to see a great fight that night between those two guys. I could see kind of like similar styles to the fight we were just talking about between Royval and Moreno, right? One guy real good on the feet, another guy, real good on the ground. Let's see what we've got here.
So here's the line. This is why the line is the way it is, guys. Look right here, takedown defense percentage. He only stops takedowns at 45%.
Yeah, that's why.
Now, if you look at
That's exactly why right there.
yeah, so if you want to look at him right here, Raul
Let's see
Rosas.
his takedown percentage. Yeah,
So he
33%.
averages 3.57 takedowns per 15 minutes.
Yeah, that
So
one takedown
he
each
goes
round.
for him. Yeah, so he goes for at least a takedown each round, which tells me that his control time is pretty crazy because
Oh,
usually in
100%.
Raul Rosas fight, he takes people down and he holds them there until he subs you or he ground and pounds you or whatever he wants to do
Or
to you
just
on the
grind some milk. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see this fight going that way, 100%. Um, I that's kind of the odd that you need to take into account is Raul Rosas going to be able to hold him down and keep him there and grind him out on the ground, or will Ricky Turcios be able to get his hands going and have some moments on the feet? That's the question right there. But yeah, now that makes a little bit more sense. I thought Turcios had a little bit better takedown defense, which I'm sure he's been drilling it. I'm hoping for him, he has some stellar takedown defense that night.
Yeah. I mean, he's still a scrappy dude.
If
So,
you could
like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, if you could stop one or two takedowns each round with Raul Rosas, you could be okay. But that means you have to keep the distance to get your hands going, or else Raul's just going to keep shooting on you.
So I'm gonna call the fight. I got Raul Rosas by sub. That's how I see the fight going. I know it seems
See
pretty
this
lazy to
as
cap the
well.
fight like that, but I think last time he won by knockout. Uh, I think so.
Yeah, I can't
But
confirm on that.
this one, I see him getting the sub. I think with the 45% with Ricky Turcios' takedown defense, I think Raul Rosas gets him down pretty easily at some point and subs him probably in the first round. I wouldn't be surprised, but
Really,
honestly, Ricky's
I'm
pretty.
thinking. I'm
Scrappy,
thinking
maybe round two.
I'm thinking Raul Rosas by decision, honestly, or Ricky Turcios inside the distance. I could see if Raul gets it done, late second round, early third round, finish wise. But I think now that we've done a little bit more research, I was just I can understand the line, but I still think that Ricky Turcios is too scrappy of a dude to and like he's a little bit more experienced here to get subbed that early.
Yeah, and that's not a bad take either. The reason I just think that is just because I'm so used to guys that aren't as good on the ground as Raul. Like
Yeah,
he wipes the
no,
floor with him there.
there's
So
nothing wrong with that
that's
take.
why I think it personally. But you're right, Ricky is a scrappy dude. So that's not. Who knows?
Right.
He might do everything in his power not to get finished. I mean, he is a tough guy, and he does. He's been in some good fights. I remember on the
Oh
Ultimate
yeah.
Fighter, man, he was a scrappy dude.
Oh yeah, he's real. He's a real another well-rounded guy. Um, Now I do take into account the reach advantage. Ricky Turcios is going to have the reach advantage here by about 4 inches. That can be a big difference, a big importance to him, especially on the ground, or I'm sorry, on the feet.
Yeah, and that's also what makes me think that his game plan to this fight is to just go in there and take him down and do his work on the ground because
Yeah,
I mean he probably could beat Ricky on the feet. I'm not saying Raul can't, but what I'm saying is with that reach advantage and how Ricky is and how scrappy he is. I mean, it could present you some problems. So I think that's honestly his game plan, But
yeah.
man, I can't wait for this card on Saturday, man. Is there any other fights that you want to talk about on this card?
Not on the top of my head. Go ahead, scroll down. I like the Chris Duncan fight too. That's a big.
That is a good
That's a
fight.
yeah. Raoni Barcelos. Yeah, I mean Claudio Puelles. That should and Ziam. That should be a good fight. I like the I like
Hey,
that
we're
fight.
running this back for the fourth time.
Yeah,
Alvarez and Lacerda.
yeah. Um,
I think Farazam's going to beat up Claudio Pelez unless Claudio can somehow sub him. But after what I saw against Dan Hooker with Claudio, I'm like, I can't.
I know. I hear you. Um, yeah. I think I like that. I like Eric Silva.
This is a fun one right here. Victor and Felipe.
Yeah. Yeah, this is gonna be a fun card. We have a lot of Spanish guys, Brazilians. It's gonna be a fun
This
card.
is a really fun card.
Yeah,
This is
I
really
like
fun.
I like when they get a lot of talent from elsewhere. Like there's only a few cards that you get with not a lot of guys from the U.S., not a lot of guys that we talk about every day. It's just because we're so prone to seeing them fight and being around them, uh, just being at different parts of the U.S. But man, like you really when you see these cards that have hardly any American flags next to the guys' names, you get to appreciate like you really understand that there's so much more to the sport other than the great American fighters that we have here. And there's obviously a lot of champions from other countries, but dude, like you just get to see the depth when you look at some of these cards, especially the prelims.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. No, this is a fun card. I think anybody should tune into this card that wants to watch MMA or watch some fun fights. This
Uh-huh.
definitely has a bunch of fun fights on it. I'm expecting a lot of finishes, to be honest. A lot of dudes on this card can bang. Uh, Probably a couple firefights. Moreno and Royval is just an absolute dog fight. I can't wait for that. I hope that honestly is a war.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, me
I
too.
think any man can win in that spot in that type of a fight. But Dylan, is there anything else that you want to talk about, man?
No, I'm glad we were able to do this tonight. It was kind of like a long day for me. I had a lot going on today. Had the day off, so I did a lot of like errands type deal. Had to get my emissions done on the car. Had to get an oil change. Had to go to a couple different stores. But here we are, man. And what a great episode! Laid back episode number 3 today. UFC 298 seemed like it was a great experience for you. I know for me, sitting here at the house, having fun watching the fights, and then but I was following you. Though I was texting you and watching your Instagram stories and stuff. I know you had a fun time out there. I'm very happy you were able to experience that. And then Mexico City, man, we wrapped it up really well. I think the top two, the co-main and the main event, are pay-per-view worthy for sure. I think we established that, right? We got a mini pay-per-view on our hands, and then you might not have some of your most favorite or well-known fighters on the prelims and the rest of the main card. However, these fights are going to deliver. I can promise you that. That's about it. I appreciate, everybody who tuned in today. Me and Cade will be back at it this coming Tuesday to recap the Mexico City card and talk about some other stuff, upcoming pay-per-views and stuff like that. But man, what an episode. Good, laid back. I like when we get to kind of just chit chat and have fun like that. But man, we've got some great guests, in the making, and we're gonna be back. Going to be back soon, next week, the week after, and we're going to be really tuning it up. And now that we have the technical and idea swing of things down pat, this podcast is really ramping up to be great now that we were able to establish kind of like the first stepping stones.
Yeah, man. Sorry we weren't here last week. We're really trying to be consistent and do this every Tuesday. We might even add a day some time down the line in the future. Yep. But right now, expect us every Tuesday. Sorry for the late notice today. These last 2 weeks.
I didn't want to bother you either, Kate. I know you were experiencing a lot and having fun with UFC 298. That was kind of my excuse.
I kind of just had a lot of stuff going on, trying to get ready for the week. I literally left here in my house Thursday. I was gone all the way until Monday, so we kind of just threw this show together. So we're going to be really good about advertising going forward and making sure you guys know when we're going to be live and stuff. But just expect us every Tuesday night. We're for sure going to be here. Like I said, today and last week was just under some different circumstances. I was at the UFC event. I live in Phoenix. That was in Anaheim, so, driving and all that stuff. But we have some special guests coming up on the show, possibly starting next week. One of them will be here, hopefully. I'm actually going to work that out after this show, but can't wait, man.
Me neither.
I'm Cade Morehouse. This is Dylan Napoleon. We out.